On behalf of the Rumfelt family, I want to say thank you for coming tonight as we take time to remember Rob. As we begin, what I'd like to ask us to do first, though, is to take a few moments of silence to remember the officer that died in Houston by drowning today. So please bow your heads just for a few moments. Thank you. My name's Terry Cara. I'm one of the chaplains with the Lake County Sheriff's Office. I had the honor of knowing Rob some. It's hard to know all of them over the years. Rob always seemed to be very special to me. I did not have the opportunity to ride in his patrol car. I always had wanted to. But it just did not happen. This evening, as we think about him and remember him, we're going to invite you, the public, to come up and tell stories that you may know of him. We'll spend a little bit of time with that before we finish with our candlelight service, and then the singing of Amazing Grace at the end. Rob Paul Rumfelt was born December 7th, 1966. While the nation saw it as a day of infamy with the bombing of Hawaii in about 1952, his parents saw his birth as a day of joy. The years that Rob grew up are far different from today. It was rebellious. Today's world, some of the things that he got away with would put a person on the wrong side of the law. Upon graduating high school, Rob made a life-changing decision. He joined the United States Marine Corps. The Corps taught him life's basics of discipline, respect, honor, courage, loyalty, commitment, and above all, service. These traits became embedded in Rob. They were the foundation of his life. He understood service. He served his country, and he served his community. And as a law enforcement officer, he served the world as well, because he went to Afghanistan to teach a fledgling police force how to police. He was not just another cop. He served the youth. He dedicated much time supporting the youth. This included being a football coach and mentoring young people. Before we began, I happened to talk to one lady, and she talked about how Rob would, from time to time, come over to her house and give her son a 1-2 talking to help keep him out of jail. The importance of his life was more than the Corps or the youth. His family. That was his love. His wife, his daughters, he deeply cared for them. They will miss him because of the love he showered upon them. Rob has been described by one deputy as larger than life. Rob was a real hero. I mean that. He was a hero. And unless you know Rob, you may not know these things. He was a hero in combat, having survived the bombing of an international hotel, having saved a fellow Marine from a burning Humvee. And for our community, it was exemplified in him stopping, sawing burning trees to free residents that had been trapped by that fire. He was a man's man, good to his word, trustworthy, a family-oriented man who kept in balance his career. He was humble. Frankly, all this for Rob, he'd be embarrassed, I think. And yet, we must do this. Don't you agree?
Yes.
Quick with a joke and a laugh. He enjoyed hunting with his dogs, scuba diving, skydiving. Good rum. And the pirate's life. Somebody said to me that they wished they'd had a big sailboat they could put out here and dress it up as a pirate ship. He sometimes scoffed at the rules, did things his way, even to the extreme. He epitomized the Marine Corps' motto, Semper Fi, always faithful, at home, at work, and in the community. He was an influence upon all, hear this now, upon all who had the guts to be near him. Larger than life does describe him. And you know, folks, he's deeply missed. His wife, his daughters, his grandchildren, parents, sister, other relatives and friends miss him. His family made up of that thin blue line miss him. High school football players and coaches miss him. Lake County will miss him. I'm going to ask Mr. Frank. Oh, Frank, I'm going to mess up your name. I know it. Frank, come on up. I'm just going to leave it at Frank so I don't mess his last name up as I'm looking at that. And he's going to share some about Rob as he's known him.
Hello, for some of you that don't know me, I'm Officer Frank Goodmanson. Currently work with Lake County Sheriff's Department, and I worked with Rob for several years at Lakeport Police Department. I got kind of hustled. The chaplain said there was a list of speakers. When I got here, he goes, "It's you. You'll be next." Well, I appreciate that. I have no problem coming down here and talk of Rob Rumfelt. We were partners together at Lakeport. I was his canine agitator. I worked with him on SWAT. I worked with him on sniper. I coached with him in football. I worked out with him for 5 years straight every morning. Everything that's been said, we know Rob is, and he's a lot more. He's one of those gentlemen that you want in your community. He's one of those citizens we can't replace. A gentleman that gives so much, not only to the job, to his family, to the kids in this community, and his coaching style was direct. If you didn't get the message, then there must be something wrong with you, because you knew when it was coming. There was a couple times when I looked away and I almost cried, going, "Wow, I feel sorry for that kid." But the message is received, and that's one thing with Rob Rumfelt you get. The message is received. Yeah, he scoffed at the rules. I remember many times as a young PD officer, he'd go out and he'd handle the call, and I'd go out and handle the call the next day. He goes, "You know, I wouldn't have done it that way." "You did it that way last night." "Yeah, but that's me, not you." "Oh." And then I'm into the chief's office explaining what I did. It worked out great. Rob did teach me a lot. One of the things is just, go hard, go strong. I do not know how many surgeries that man has. And the way he survives and comes back and continues to fight every day. One day it'd be a shoulder, a neck, a knee, an ankle, but he's still running, he's still lifting, he's still out there at football practice. He's still pushing everybody, to as far as they can push him. And that's what he did, whether you were a supervisor, a coworker, and I'm sure his children, which I do not know how many endless hours of conversation, eating ice cream drumsticks down at the Beacon in January, of course, with him, talking of Brittany and Nikki and all the sports accolades. On and on and on. Very proud father, and very well he should be. That guy was just one of those when you went to work, and that's a key thing. Going to work with him, and you knew he was coming on, your night was going to be all right. You weren't worried about getting into anything, because whether he got into it before you were definitely going to get out of it. You knew you had backup. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. He was showing up. And that's what he did every day. And that's what I ask you out there, officers that are out there right now, especially you young officers on patrol. Show up every day. Finish every day. And that's what Rob did. He'd show up and he'd finish things. On the night that he passed, I am telling you, knowing this man as long as I have and the hours that I've spent with him, that's the way he'd want it to be. Going out, doing his job, serving his community, protecting his community, because Rob loved Lake County. He loved Clear Lake. When we brought him on over at the high school to coach, that was the smartest thing to do for that school. We have an alumni coach. We have a coach that's committed. Committed to his kids, committed to the program, and committed to make sure these kids stay out of jail. And he's tough, I'm telling you. He's tough on friendship, he's tough on coaching, tough on his peers, because he has expectations, and those expectations are usually higher than yours. But the one thing he did expect was you to show up every day and be ready for work. That was one of his highest expectations. When he became a sniper with me out at the PD, and I was used to sniping with Lloyd Wells, so Lloyd would go out, light up a couple of cigarettes, walk around a little bit, lay down, take some shots. Everything was nice and kind of mellow. Well, Rob would get out there and he goes, "Are you ready to go?" I'm like, "No, I haven't got the gun out of the car yet." He goes, "Well, first of all, we're going to take the rifle, we're going to strap it on our back, we're going to run down the street here to Highland Springs, we're going to whip around, we're going to low crawl here, climb on top of the range shack, and then we're going to take a headshot." And I'm like, okay, I guess. So he decides to go first. So he runs up the street, runs around, doing all this good stuff, climbs on top of the building, which he almost fell off 3 or 4 times. So I got him up there, and he's standing out there, he slips down, fires a rifle. And he looks at me, he goes, "I think I got it." I'm like, no way. So I had an XR70 dirt bike I brought out for a range bike, and I go putting up there like Benny Hill. I look at the target, headshot. I went back, he goes, "It's your turn." I said, "No, I ain't doing it. Not even gonna try it." But that's how he was. It wasn't just go out there and train or go out there and be routine. Let's do something else. Let's pick the game up. As young officers, take note of that. We can always do more. Be part of your community. Coach. Be part of your community. Get the fundraisers. Be relevant where you work, because you are the example. There are people watching you. People watch Rob every day, and people took Rob in many different ways. But what you could not take him from was he is here to do the job, and he did it right. If you got his attention, stand by. Stand by. Trust me, I got his attention a couple of times. There's a few times I walked away and I went, "He didn't hit me. He didn't hit me." You know, thank you, Lord. Anyone that coached with us through those years, I remember Milo saying, "I don't have enough clipboards to get through the rest of the season." Because it's just the way it was. You had 2 Marines, and we both had our ideas, and we weren't going to give up for nothing. And that's why he's a Marine. You don't give up for nothing. So you people out there that really didn't get to know him or didn't get to patrol with him, or you did patrol with him and you said, "That guy's kind of an asshole." Well, I'll tell you what, I'll take that asshole any day. I'll take that guy any day. So appreciate that if he was your FTO. Appreciate any day you got to work with him, because he is one of those citizens we can't replace. He's a community member that will forever be spoken about for years. If you played for him or you played with him, and that's in any sport at any time, whether you had a drink with him, you'll always have that memory. I won't get into those memories because I'm sure Kelly does want flashbacks. Too many times you dropped him off naked and left. I heard my name down the street many times as I was driving away. But you know what? Play hard, work hard, and perform. And that's what Rob did. He performed every day in that uniform. God bless him. God bless all you guys for showing up. Be safe out there. And for any minute that you've had at Rob Rumfelt, cherish that moment. Cherish that moment. He's a hard one to replace. Thank you.
I was told I kept turning my head away from the microphone, and so don't want to do that again. At this time, we want to open it up to you that are here. Maybe have 4 or 5 of you that have some type of Rob story that you would like to share with everybody. What I'd like to do is ask you to come right over here to the stairs, and we'll have you come up one at a time. Ask that you try and make it a pertinent story, a story that is short and appropriate. Yeah. Who'll come up?
I'll say something about Rob.
And if there's others, please come right on over to the stairs now at this time.
No, I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah, I'm all right. My name's Brantley Lopez. A lot of you know me. There's some that know me better than others. Anyways, Rob, like Frank was saying, will always be in the hearts that remember and love him. Just a solid guy. It doesn't matter if he was a cop, didn't matter if he was a Marine. Guy was a mentor to me. We didn't get along at first. He did not like me whatsoever. But, you know, hard work and dedication showed that guy that, you know what, this guy could be somebody. And every time after he learned that, he treated me that way. So, yeah, we lost a good one, guys. I know that and I know he does see all of us down here, and I guarantee you he's got a big shit-eating grin on his face, because guaranteed that's the guy Rob Rumfelt is. You know what, no matter how stern, hard, whatever I wasn't looking out to hurt anybody. I was there to help. So, thank you, Rob. Rest in peace.
Hello, everybody. My name is John. I'm a security officer here in the county. I've only had one instance. One time I got to meet this wonderful officer, this wonderful deputy, this wonderful man. I was working a job site where a young teenager came onto the property trespassing, and he refused to leave. I told him that, look, dude, you got to go. And I had one of my other officers go call in for backup, and the guy decided he wanted to get into a scrap with me. And as my other officer is running to the phone. So I'm out there scrapping with the guy, trying to get him detained. And right as that fight had ensued, here comes a deputy sheriff pulling up right on the spot. Got out of his vehicle, ran over there, and helped me subdue him. And it was Rob Rumfelt. At that moment, it was the first time I ever actually had to get into a physical altercation with somebody. So I was really nervous and kind of scared, and my heart was racing. And he looked at me and he said, "Slow down, Quicksilver. Relax. I got it from here." And all I said was thank you, and I couldn't say thank you enough. And he ended up taking him to jail. So it was ended up being a good night. If it wasn't for him, I don't know where that would have ended up. So thank you, Rob.
Hello, I'm Randy Sutton. I first met Rob several years ago, and we bump into each other once in a while. We were never good buddies, but, well, what the heck. He was a Marine in Iraq who went on to do some things in Afghanistan that weren't for the Marine Corps. My son was a Marine in Iraq who went on to do some things in Afghanistan that weren't for the Marine Corps. And we thought we could talk, but, you know, when we talked, usually it was about his family and his dreams for them. Rob, to me anyway, was a really easy guy to get along with. I'm not saying everything was always perfect. He probably looked at me and thought I was, how do I say it, weak. I looked at him and thought he was rough. Guess what? We each learned some things about each other and looked each other in the eye and nodded our heads, and it was okay. I think Rob Rumfelt was a sterling example of what I think every young man should aspire to be. I think he was an absolutely beautiful man. Yes, we miss him now, and we'll miss him as long as we can remember him. I will tell you one other little story that I heard. Let's just say that I heard it. There was a father who cared deeply about his 13-year-old daughter who was being extremely rebellious, doing things that definitely were not totally within the rule book or even just plain legal. And that father was not having a good time attempting to help his daughter. But he learned about Rob Rumsfeld, mentioned it to Rob. Rob, with zero hesitation, said, "You bet I'll talk to her." And Rob did. And my understanding is that for some period of time, that father didn't really have as much trouble with that 13-year-old rebellious daughter. Rob had some wonderful skills. We'll miss him. Rest in peace, Rob. In Jesus' name, amen.
See if I need that thing. My name's Moke Simon. Rob Rumfelt, he was a very close cousin of mine, but what he was a real life hero. I looked up to him, my entire life. Loved what he did with his life. Loved that he joined the Marines. He came back, became the sheriff and a police officer, and he did such a great job of serving this community. But through all those years, he was just cousin Rob, and he was absolutely awesome. I'll tell you, I ain't gonna tell the stories, but some of the toughest times in my life, Rob was with me, and he helped me through those times. And I stand here today as the first tribal person ever elected in Lake County's history. And I give him a lot of credit for that. throughout my life, giving me someone to look up to, something to strive for, because we were obviously very competitive. The same blood that runs through his veins run through mine. And believe me, whenever we saw each other on the football field from Middletown and Lakeport, it wasn't just about the game and the kids. It was about who was going to beat each other that night. And we kept score for many years, and it's going to be hard going forward. And I know Kelly and all the kids are, hurting right now. But I'll tell you, I'm going to be here for you forever. And Rob would expect nothing less. I do got one story, though, that I can tell. And, as you guys know, he was a huge Raider fan, and so am I. I grew up loving Lyle Alzado and Howie Long and just the guys who would kick your ass if you had something to say wrong. And I think Rob believed in that, too. But it was usually for the right reasons. And, we went to the Raider games as often as we could. It didn't matter if he was out of country. As soon as he got back, he wanted his Raider report on that season. We always had that, and it was just phenomenal. He asked this summer, which I thought was, kind of out of the ordinary. He said, "Hey, Moke, man, can you get us some Raider tickets for some kids?" And I was like, "Well, let me try, man." So we ended up getting about 25 tickets. And I was really bummed because it was on a day I had Board of Supervisors. And you can't miss a Board of Supervisors meeting to go to a Raiders practice. I would have liked to, but I couldn't. And so Rob took the kids, guys from Lakeport, some kids from the Mustangs. It was just 2 or 3 weeks ago. I can't even think of the date right now. But man, did I get my reports, and I know he was happy. He enjoyed that day. And hopefully that day, we did change some lives of some kids to give them some inspiration and understand that maybe they can't achieve their dreams. And I know that's what he was always trying to do when he was coaching. But the one thing that I think he did on purpose, and he always gave me a bad time, he was either going to tase me or he was going to shoot me because he knew he couldn't beat me up. But he had always something, and I'm telling you. And it was always, hey, and I knew he wasn't joking, man. If I gave him the opportunity, he was going to take care of business. But when he worked for the Lakeport Police Department, he got the dog. The picture's right down here. He came out and he goes, "Hey, we're going to get a dog." And I was like, "Hey, would you guys fund us getting a dog?" And I go, yeah, the tribe. We took it to the tribal council, and absolutely. So we got that dog, and boy, I don't think he got it to get drugs or to chase people. I think he got it so he could bring me over to the house and set me on the couch and make me act perfect. Because he threatened me with that dog, I don't know how many times, and I swear, he's like, "Come on by, just call, I'll put him in the backyard," I swear. That dog was never in the backyard when I was in the house. He was just sitting there looking at me. But that's the way Rob was, and he was always there, and you always felt safer, and every time he'd be in town, or he'd have to come out on the rancheria or the reservation, it was always, good. He did the right thing. He didn't need to go to jail. You were pretty much going to get yelled at and let go. He was one heck of a police officer. He was one heck of a guy to understand what situations are and how to let people, figure things out on their own. And it was always great to know and comforting. But he'll never be forgotten. The sides of his family and mine, been here for thousands of years, and we'll be here for thousands more. And he'll never be forgotten because he's a goddamn hero. And in my heart every day. And I have him in my phone. You call him a Marine, but Rob didn't even deserve a name in my phone. The name that I put in my phone for Rob was Hoorah! And that's what he was. I love this community. I love you, Kelly. That's it. Bye, cuz.
Anyone else? It's kind of hard to follow that, isn't it? Kelly? Nicole, Brittany, on behalf of everybody that's here that's standing behind you, we love you. Our hearts break for you. Let's take the candles that we have, the lights that we have, whether they be a flashlight, a cell phone, a lit candle. Let's take those right now and let's raise them up high. Raise them up. I wish you could see what I see. Every one of those things are a light that reminds us of Rob. How he was a light to people, caring for people, loving people, sometimes hard on people. An officer, a father, a husband, a brother, a man of our community. If you'd please continue to hold those up while Officer Nick Powell comes to sing Amazing Grace.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead us home. The Lord has promised good to me, His word my hope secures. He will my shield and portion be, as long as life endures. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was blind, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
As we conclude tonight, let me remind you of a couple things before I give a final benediction for us. One is Friday from 12 to 8 p.m. There'll be a public viewing for Rob at Chapel of the Lakes Mortuary here in Lakeport. Then on September 9th, Saturday, September 9th, is Rob's Memorial that will be held at the Clear Lake High School football stadium there on the field. Public is invited to that as well. Let me conclude with this benediction, and then you are dismissed. As the many lights that we've had out here tonight reminds us of Rob, reminds us of the things that he has stood for, the good things, the honest things, the just things. May you also go forward and live lives that are just, that are honest, that are pure, because of Rob Rumfelt. May this hour, this time we've spent together, inspire you, encourage you, and always strengthen you. Amen. Thank you for coming.
Hi, Dougie.
Good message.
How are you? Hey, how are you doing, kiddo? It makes it even worse. No, it's not. Prodigal daughter.